Hello, welcome back to the Prestige TV podcast feed. I'm Joanna Robinson.
I'm Rob Mahoney.
We're here in person, talk about episode 7, The Gap.
What is The Gap?
Yeah, Rob, what could that episode title mean, do you think?
I don't know. I feel like it could refer to a great many things. I like to think of it as, you know, maybe the gap between all of us as we isolate ourselves, and certainly as these two characters are kind of drifting further apart philosophically.
You don't think Carol in her new sort of like embrace materialism phase went to The Gap?
Oh, she definitely might have.
Okay.
I mean, look, definitely kind of Gap styled at times.
Yeah. Could it have anything to do with the thing we got 1 million emails about last week, the Darien Gap?
Judging by our inbox, it is possible.
Okay.
It does seem like that could be a consideration that may be dealt with in this episode.
Okay, so we're here to talk about Pluribus episode 7, The Gap, written by Jen Carroll, directed by Adam Bernstein, in which we check in on Carol over the scope of a month, and then presumably Manousos on a month-long journey from Paraguay to New Mexico. Guys, you cannot drive there directly.
So we have learned.
This
is an educational process for us, Joe.
Thank you for all your emails about the Darien Gap. Some of them were very polite. Some of them were rude, but that's okay. We appreciate all of that. But if we didn't know about the Darien Gap before, we'd certainly know about it now.
We do.
I just want to say really quickly, we did get one email about the TV show Long Way Up, which is the Ewan McGregor TV show where he and his friend Charlie took motorcycles from the tip of South America up to Los Angeles. Did I watch that show? Yes. Did I not finish that show?
Oh.
Correct. Episode 8 is when they encounter the Darien Gap, and I did not get there.
Should have done your due diligence. How do you feel about us doing a travelogue show, Joe?
Can it be wine based?
It can be wine based. It can be Darien Gap based if you like. I mean, this
did
seem a little it seemed a little perilous for my tastes, and certainly we couldn't be driving through it. But maybe that's a hiking, not bottle episode, but a little side quest.
All right. How are your machete skills?
Not great at carterizing.
Okay,
great. Like that part I'm not looking forward to.
Okay. Everything we learned from our lovely listeners about cannibalism and the Darien Gap aside, how did you like this episode?
I fucking loved it. I thought this was just like one of the most beautiful episodes of TV I've seen this year.
Yeah. Really
and
good.
Hit a lot of boxes for me. I know everyone is coming to Pluribus for something very different. And I'm sure a viewer of the show is like, I just want to find out the next steps with the virus, with the aliens, hypothetically, with whatever is happening in this show. Right. This is like the deconstruction of our two most human characters, or at least central human characters. And it's shot in a way where I'm just like, good Lord, like the Chilean coastline, good Lord, these like the beautiful kind of like scenescapes of an apocalypse effectively, and using those to advantage to indicate the isolation of these characters, but also the beauty and the natural wonder of these spaces. And like, it kind of is laying out the argument for and against humanity at the same time, just by how beautiful this episode is.
Oh, I love that. Something that, I like to do, obviously, as you know, is sort of scrub through the official pod. Sometimes those tidbits are just extra, cherry on the cake of our discussion. But in this case, I think Adam Bernstein, who's the director of this episode, who was a frequent Breaking Bad director, Better Call Saul director.
In fact, directed our Hooked episode for Breaking Bad.
Correct.
Yeah.
And is a music video director as well. And so his history directing like the Love Shack music video for the B-52s, Hey Ladies for the Beastie Boys, Baby Got Back for Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Oh my God.
Like, this is a guy, but like his
So he's directed a lot of different kinds of landscapes, as you're alluding to with Baby Got Back.
But I think his use of sort of visual storytelling, quick edits, musicality, all of that really works inside of this episode. Also hearing how they shot it over time, some of it in Spain, some of it across different, states, somewhat out of order. So for the actors to have to, for Vesca, who plays Manousos, for him to get into the right emotional space based on where he's driving at what point in the timeline, there's just so much effort that went into making this incredible episode. And something that I thought that was so interesting that Adam Bernstein talked about, having worked with Vince's crew through Breaking Bad, through Better Call Saul, is that they have this kind of unofficial motto in the writer's room, which is, can we do this scene with no dialogue?
Yeah.
Like that they'll write a scene and they'll be like, but can we do it with no dialogue? And this episode is a real testament to that approach, because I really feel like with Manousos especially, who we spent less time with, we are on such, and we just have to be with him emotionally through this largely silent trek that he takes. And then when he does speak, which we'll talk about when we get there, it's so powerful.
It's really amazing what they've already done with this character in, as you said, very limited screen time,
Yeah.
certainly very limited dialogue time, actual human beings, muttering to himself in a rainforest
Sure.
a little bit more.
The cat is gray.
The cat is great. But also, I think it's just a testament to Vince Gilligan and his casting directors in particular, Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas. Like, this feels like Ray Seahorn on Better Call Saul. It feels like the emergence of a fascinating, like, naturalistic actor who is never boring. Every time he's on screen, I just like am transfixed by whatever he is reacting to in that moment. And it never feels like too much or too little. It's like, I am just like so fully in this thing. And that's a product of great filmmaking. It's a great product of great editing. Absolutely. But you can't do it if you can't hold the screen.
Right.
And for Vesca to be doing that with, frankly, like very little on the page to read, I think it's just remarkable acting work from him so far.
I want to shout out two other people on the production side to Yes and You and say that Jen Carroll, who wrote this episode, this is her first like written by credit that she's ever had. So what a cool episode to have that on. And then Chris McCaleb, who hosts the official podcast, is an editor on the show, and he edited this episode. So like the incredible work that he did putting together and the great work he does on that podcast. So I just want to shout out Chris as well. But this is, I mean, I just thought this was like a masterpiece of television. Really, really good stuff. And I think it, based on how you're reacting, I mean, I didn't listen to the watch, but I know that Chris and Andy were divided on this episode because Chris told me that they were, and that Andy didn't really respond to it. And I know that like some people aren't responding to the show as a whole this episode. But for me, it really hit what I really like about this Anna Gilligan show in particular, where you are forced to really marinate in the emotional journey. So when we get to the point of Manousos' journey where he is injured bodily, where he can't go on anymore, I am devastated in a way that I would not be if I hadn't, watched him sort of suck all that gasoline out of cars and like do all the other things that he did along the way. Do you know what I mean?
Completely. I mean, it's taking these two characters to their absolute breaking points. And in doing so, like, something very human, right? Like, I think the kind of growth we're seeing from any character, like, that's something the hive mind can't do. Like, they are a static entity working to complete optimization in a lot of different ways. But, like, one thing I was wondering when watching this is, like, can the hive mind even comprehend the contempt that Manousos has to set his own beloved car on fire just to prove a point? Is that, like, a thing that the hive mind understands of, like, you're saying you understand that this is an important car to me.
Right.
And I hate you saying that so much that I'm going to set it and the Virgin Mary on fire to spite you. Is that like, do you think that's something that's like within their realm of experience to collectively grasp?
Are you saying that for Manousos, the car is Helen?
Oh my God.
And he's
I didn't
like,
even think
the
about
audacity of you to to say you understand my grief.
But there is I think there is something specifically to that of, look, in many ways as human beings, we are desperately yearning to be known.
Yeah.
And then when somebody is like overly familiar with you who doesn't actually know you, it triggers this like reflexive anger in all of us that like the hive mind would not really have.
Nothing on this planet is yours. You cannot give me anything because all that you have is stolen. You, lighter click, don't belong here. Sick. Like
very
deeply
good.
Sick. Very, very good stuff from Manousos in this episode. I thought that was incredible. I
mean, another benefit, as you mentioned, Joe, of just like having such a quiet episode is when a character like Manousos does speak up to other people, everything stops. Like, this is what I mean by his naturalistic acting style. I could have stayed in that moment of him lighting his lighter and just ready to torch his car in flames.
Yeah.
I could have stayed like suspended in that moment for an hour because of just like him holding that scene, him holding that moment, the break in the dialogue, like the pacing of everything he's delivering, I think is just really remarkable.
I think what's also incredible, and, obviously we'll talk about what Carol's going through in this episode, but I think what's also incredible is the great tragedy of this episode, not just his failure, basically like, I don't know, Christopher Nolan, take notes. This is an odyssey. Like there's the failure that he experiences, and then also the tragedy of Carol holding out for so long.
I know. And
then collapsing back into the arms of the hive mind before he has a chance to get there. And the questions we're asking ourselves, like, he's going to be perhaps airlifted to her doorstep. We don't know what the hive mind's going to do against his wishes, but that might happen. And then is he going to be like, oh, you are just like one of them?
Yeah.
Do you know? And that's devastating because she held out by herself, feeling like she's all alone in the world for so long. Here comes someone who wants to be on your team, and the timing is just not right.
I know.
You know?
I joke about the gap, but like it is there, and it's
Yeah.
widening between them, despite the fact that, you know, Manousos was so inspired by Carol's tapes and was like, has been him making the effort to go through the gap. You're right. Is an odyssey, is incredible to watch, is devastating in the end of him finally reaching for the drone heavens for help.
Yeah.
Like him having to make that concession is like gut level painful. In the same way that Carol collapsing into Zosha's arms is gut level painful. Like,
Yeah.
you would love to see a world in which these characters can hold out the appropriate amount of time to be just successful and valiant enough, but that's like just not what Pluribus is right now.
That's not what humanity often is.
Bad news for all of us, but yes.
I think that also to have both of them have these sort of like eye in the sky moments. Like we've had these drone bits of comedy throughout, but this idea that Carol has to write a message that, you know, the gods can see, and Manousos has to sort of reach up to the heavens. And we have all the, you know, there's like a shot of Carol with the clouds behind her backlit. Very Knives Out, very Wake Up Dead Man, right?
We need that for our set deck. Can we get some steepling light through the window, please?
Yeah, some natural lighting inside of the studio, please. And you know, and Manousos having to like look up to the heavens, the Virgin Mary iconography, him sleeping in a church. There's just very much like the hive mind as God.
Yes.
Underlined bold italics inside of this episode.
Which, I mean, isn't it? You
Right.
know, like at the point where
All-knowing,
you
all-seeing.
can snap your fingers and a red Gatorade descends from the heavens. Like it is a godlike figure
It's
or
not ice
feature.
cold.
It is not ice cold. You know what? Even God is a little flawed sometimes.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite deliver in the ways you might want, but in the ways you might need. It's better to drink a tepid drink than an ice cold drink if you're that parched.
But his resentment of, you know, when they're saying like, you're going to New Mexico, right? To see Carol, you know, and he was just like, his resentment of like, how dare you? I haven't spoken to any of you.
I know.
How dare you know my plans? And how dare you reveal to me that you know my plans? It was just like really good stuff. Let's go through some email stuff. Like we mentioned, we got a lot of emails about cannibalism and the Darien Gap. We'll talk about some of it.
And pigeons, which apparently do eat their own young sometimes.
Listen,
so I'm just throwing that out
The
there.
anti-pigeon contingent really showed up for you, Rob, and I like that for you.
Showed up for all of us, I like to
We're a
think.
nation divided. All right. Here's some questions sort of generally posed by the inbox. Will one of the unlicked opt to get licked, as it were? Has Lakshmi already joined her son in the hive mind?
I mean, narratively speaking, Lakshmi would be the only one who would make sense. Like, we just haven't revisited any of those other characters.
Right.
And I think she has the pull with her son. I think she's shown that she's someone who might at least consider that. I think that's a real possibility.
Okay. In terms of that conversation we had about consent, some of our listeners pointed out that like the hive mind does opt to leave Vegas, even though Kumba's like, please stay. Why won't you stay? So there are decisions that they can make that are counter. I mean, I think our larger conversation still stands, but there are some moments where they can deny someone something.
I think the catch for that for me is those people never opted to be in the hive mind to begin with. Right. If you sign up to be a part of the cult and then later want to backtrack on what the cult activities are, that's kind of one thing. But like, if you're not signing up for it, that initial wave of consent is just obliterated.
We are still getting some troubling pro hive mind emails from
a
our
lot
listeners.
of them.
Okay.
I will say the most convincing for me in terms of pro hive mind emails we've been receiving are of the variety of like, everything is fundamentally fucked in the world right now.
Right.
Our access to resources, our access to healthcare, people like starving and suffering all over the world, that there is a bit of hubris in saying like, our model is the best model.
Absolutely. It's not working for a lot of people.
No,
and we got emails being like, hey, consider your cushy podcaster job is not the job that most people have, et cetera, et cetera. Fair point.
Privilege check.
Genuinely fair.
The point with that for me is not that those things aren't true and that what we have is the best model. To me, it's just the only human model. Is like the only way we can really operate is not with the fundamental constraints of like those societal concerns, but some of the fundamental restraints that would be surrendered to a hive mind mentality.
To your point is like, if there were an opt-in option, that's different.
Yeah.
Where we're told, hey, if you do this, there will be peace on earth and,
totally,
you know, equality and all that sort of stuff. Like you and I as Never mind. Let's not get into politics. Okay.
Also a little credulous. Also, if your hive mind utopia has a 10-year expiration date, I don't know. Maybe it's not a utopia.
That was so funny. Some of our hive mind apologists were like, oh, just kidding. If it's only going to be 10 years, I don't want it. Okay.
We need a 15-year plan. That's what I'm saying.
Here's a really important question I have. Is the actor Patrick Fabian getting royalties for every episode where they use the complete voicemail recording for Carol?
One can only hope.
I hope it's in his contract.
Yep.
And then I just wanted to point out that Carol in this episode is doing a lot of things our listeners wrote in about. She went to the museum.
Almost like to a checklist.
Golfing, fine
Yes.
dining. Like, this is what everyone wanted to do. I loved it.
We need to hear from the golfers again. I will say, going back to when we were our coverage of Fargo, there was such a very clear example of a man who had never held a golf club before pretending to be a semi-professional golfer.
Okay.
Did not work. Ray Seahorn, I am not a golfer, but very clearly knows how to swing a club. Very clearly has at least spent some time on a driving range before. Did she Daniel Day-Lewis that shit and just like prepare that for this role? I would believe it.
Yeah.
But I would also believe it if you told me she's been golfing like every other Sunday for years.
We did have some questions from the golfers earlier about how quickly. Well, this goes into something else I want to talk about, which is the do no harm question. We got a lot of questions about this. The particulars of the narrative corner that the writers have written themselves into with this do no harm idea. Because does mowing grass count? If you can't pick a piece of fruit off the tree,
can you cut a blade of grass?
Can you cut a blade of grass? And if so, if you can't cut a blade of grass, can you maintain a golf course? We see some weeds growing up. There's like a little bunny here,
Somehow we're getting into like a federalism argument. It's like an author's intent kind of thing happening here, an originalism. Like, I think by the letter of the rule, the answer would be no.
Right.
Is that how this is going to work? Frankly, we haven't seen the post-time jump golf course yet. Maybe,
that's true.
Maybe this is part of the reason why Carol has moved to the downtown Albuquerque as her driving range. Is like
shagging balls off the.
It's in disrepair over there at the country club.
Fair enough. Okay. Especially since no one's there to mow said grass. Just two more do no harm questions we got from our listeners. Okay. How does the hive deal with bugs while driving? Gotcha, Vince Gilligan. That's from Hank, and I really liked that email.
It's a great question. Can I share a recent bug exploit with you?
Oh, please.
Recently, before I was about to go to bed, I was like, oh, that's a sizable spider on the wall. No big deal. I'm going to take care of it. Like I try to escort them out if they're below a certain threshold. If they're of a certain size, I'm sorry. It's just, I don't have the hive mind mentality.
It's smashing time.
You got to go.
Yeah,
smashed him.
Time.
Had enough concerning features. So I'm like, I better Google this. Turns out it's a brown widow. Not ideal for my home living situation, but one spider I can deal with. Unfortunately, in looking at the Google images of brown widows, there are a lot of very conspicuous egg sacs lurking behind them in these photos. And sure enough, Joe, I look up. And there is just a plump little egg sac right there, hovering in its web. My night plans were scrambled. I turned into, this egg sac is
You're
like
John Goodman in Arachnophobia.
Well, it's like in a skylight, 12 feet off the ground, and I'm like excavating it with chopsticks with the most careful precision. How else am I supposed to get it that delicately?
Because you can't let it burst.
That was my nightmare. It's like, I'm going to squeeze too hard and literally 150 spiders are going to pour out of this thing.
Oh my God.
I'm happy to report I successfully removed the egg sac.
Wow.
And to date, we have not seen any more brown widows, but it was a harrowing experience. I empathize with certainly if you have a spider or bug in your car. And absolutely, we didn't even see the spiders in the gap that Manousos was warned about. All the bugs and snakes that could also be of danger to him there. But, sometimes nature comes for us all.
As someone who drives from Northern California to Southern California on the 5 quite frequently, my grill is just like plastered.
You are doing lots of harm.
I am doing lots of harm. And then last but not least, Emma was like, for a hive that can't harm anything, they sure use fossil fuels recklessly, re so many flights with just a few people. So really Taylor Swifting their way through this apocalypse.
But if the only person Taylor Swifting was one person, are you really dealing damage to the environment that way? Like one private jet, I think is probably incredibly sustainable if you cut off 90% of all of the world's like corporate level population or pollution. Like, right. If you shut down all the factories that aren't making
this is a great point.
Cannibalistic
and
smoothies.
This is why I think you're slowly becoming pro hive mind.
I'm not becoming pro hive mind. I'm just saying that's not my concern. The concern is there's not enough food to sustain the people.
Okay.
And if you need to jet set around, maybe there's a safe way to do it.
So here's Rob just collapsing into the arms of the hive mind. Okay. Here's me just
this is not what's happening here.
Slicing and dicing my way through the jungle, standing strong. Okay.
Unbelievable, Joe.
In terms of like the incredible emails we get from experts in the show across many TV shows that we've covered.
Mm-hmm.
One of our listeners, Oscar, pointed out that in a way, our email network is a bit of a hive mind, that we get these like expert insights from people.
So we already are the hive mind.
He says, feels like emailing...
How's your high road feel now, Joe? Now that you're already part of it with
Feels
me.
like emailing Licking the Donut is how we can funnel our knowledge into a hive mind of sorts. Maybe you guys can do a live open heart surgery for the finale, guided only by listener emails. Food for thought. So something to consider.
Yeah. If we get a sponsor.
Okay. Who's the sponsored by The Pit? HBO. You know where to reach us. Rob, do you have a favorite fun fact you learned about cannibalism this week from our listeners?
There were a great many.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, lots of people are still pro. Lots of people have lots of defenses of it. On practical grounds, on philosophical grounds sometimes, on lots of just like people and animals have been doing this for a long time in various capacities, and therefore it must be okay, ? Grounds.
The science community felt a little differently.
They certainly did.
Yeah.
It will kill you, basically.
And depending on how you prepare.
Well, it was the first time I had ever heard the phrase folded protein before.
We got a lot of folded protein. So prion disease, which is something that you can get from eating, I believe, the nerve tissue. Sorry, this is the world we're living in. We got so many cannibalism emails. So just so you know. Presumably the HDP is like heavily processed enough that they figured out how to not do this. But this is what like mad cow disease came from, feeding cow nerve tissue. And that's how that spread.
Yeah.
And with humans, a reason to not be a cannibal is the way in which if you eat nerve tissue, I believe, we heard from evolutionary biologists, medical writers, et cetera, that this is not something you want to do.
It's almost like we are biologically wired in the propagation and continuation of our species that we should not do this. It's almost like the universe is telling us something.
Interesting. I did like this email we got from Dan, who's an evolutionary biologist. Who says, there are some ideas programmed into our brains as species. We call these, quote, innate behaviors, or more commonly instincts. As an example, newborn baby chicks instinctively hide from shadows of predators flying overhead. Monarch butterflies migrate something like 4,000 miles and do it without social learning. So there's a lot of examples. And then he said, with cannibalism, with incest, which can also sort of these like societal taboos are often linked to these biological contrary to the biological imperative, I guess, ideas. So
I think there's like a feedback loop thing happening there too, right? There's the biological imperative that, like, take incest, for example, like higher risks of like development of various like diseases and deformities and like health complications as a result. And then that kind of furthers the social taboo, which then like it's all kind of tangled in a way where I don't know how you could separate one from the other. And I'm sure there's cases where the social taboo kind of started first and then we evolved to a point where our bodies could no longer do that thing anymore. So it's all kind of in one big stew.
Did you think we were going to be talking about this today?
I just kind of take it as par for the course, given the way the inbox is going right now.
Anything you want to share about we learned about storing avocados?
No, we're good.
Okay.
The avocados are safe. They're mostly ripe. Sometimes they're frustrating. I don't know what to tell you.
Sometimes we put them in the fridge.
We do in fact, know how to put an avocado in the refrigerator or on the counter, but doesn't always work.
All right. I want to hit you with this frequency theory is what I'm calling it. We got a couple emails about this. A listener who has requested to be referred to as Ray Scotch Colton.
Do we allow that?
I do. I mean, yeah.
Like, you can request to be called by something other than potentially your given name. Or
I think some people try to don't want their name on a pod, even if their first name is just John, and they're just like worried that people will know that it was them that wrote in.
That's fair.
So requesting a in quotes nickname though is new, and you know what? In this instance, I decided to go for it.
I think you have to defer to us. If we want to call you Lorelei, if you leave yourself anonymous, like that's our right.
But this is Ray laid this out really beautifully, right? When Carol spoke to Davis Taffler in the pilot, he said the self-service is down, right? But as is outlaid here, the joint have kept several other modes of long-distance communication powered and functional. Landlines, of course, but also communication satellites, which is how Carol called Manousos from a plane.
Yep.
Zoom calls are in effect, right? Because the unlicked are hopping on the Zoom without Carol on a bi-weekly basis. So why no cell phones? Based on all the above, I think cell towers interfere with whatever psychic frequency the joined use to communicate. Taking it one step further, I think the mystery frequency Manousos found was the frequency all the joined are tuned to, so to speak. And I wonder if whenever Carol and Manousos meet, they'll put those two facts together and try to hatch a plan to slow the joint down. And a lot of people pointed out that the frequency that Manousos found, having gone through every single option, is very similar to or maybe the same as the pulsing sound that plays over the credits at the beginning of the episode. That this is like the sound of the joint. Yeah.
Which we've never really talked about, but I find like really bracing and kind of beautiful and also a little terrifying.
Maybe that's why you're being seduced to the hive mind,
you know
right?
what?
We do not skip through the opening credits on a TV show. No. So and then our listener Jay wrote in to say, if the radio signal is part of how the hive mind communicates, would Manousos and Carol be able to block it on sort of like a limited basis, like a 10-mile radius can block the signal, and therefore like basically unlicking a segment of the hive mind? Can they liberate just like a few people in a geographical location? Will those people, if they can no longer hear the frequency, will they then revert to who they were before? Or will Zoja be Zoja but no longer sort of hive mind dependent?
Yes.
Do you know?
And if they are, what memory would they retain from this time where they're part of the hive mind? Have they been trapped in their own bodies during this stretch, or are they kind of willing participants in what's happening? Like I'm very curious for our first glimpses of someone who has been like deprogrammed for exactly this reason. Like, what is that revelation of where have they been in a consciousness sense? Yeah,
exactly. Last but not least, and I love this frequency plus cell phone service.
It checks all the boxes in terms of what's been happening in the show, and what Pluribus is signaling to us is kind of important.
And plus, it was like right in front of our faces the whole time in the opening credits. Is a very Vince Gilligan thing to do. I don't know if people like were in the Better Call Saul soup when he spelled out the return of a character via the episode titles of a season. Like, that was just diabolical work from Vince Gilligan. So, last but not least, before we like get into the episode, this very lengthy mailbag section. This is not a mailbag thing. I just want to point this out, is that watching Carol collapse into Zoja's arms, or watching Manousos have to get rescued out of the jungle. I was thinking about the theme of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and Pluribus, which is about in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, it's this like slow seduction of a main character into the less a lesser version of themselves, I guess is what I will say. In Better Call Saul, we watch Jimmy McGill become Saul. In Breaking Bad, we watch Walt become Heisenberg.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so Carol, as much as we're saying this is like a slow down version, watching Carol go from as independent as someone who demands their sprouts is restocked by a bunch of people to utter collapse, to inside of this episode taking a more sort of Kumba approach to everything, right? She's like, I'll get the Rolls Royce, I'll have the fancy meal, I'll do all of these things, and then into Zoja's arms is actually an accelerated version of that sort of abandoning your principles for something.
I think the difference in those two journeys is in your Better Call Sauls and your Breaking Bad, some of the question at the end is like, if you make that transition into Heisenberg, what is left of Walter White after that? Like, is he still in there, or is it been completely papered over?
Right.
I don't think we worry about that so much with Carol because it's been like 30 days of concentrated isolation basically have just broken her will. Yeah. And she's like so upsettingly lonely. And just like, and I think the diminishing returns of all these things that she tried to Kumbify to make her life somewhat meaningful. Like, she's just looking at the same George O'Keeffe painting on her wall. And it's like, this isn't doing it for me like it did a month ago. Carol's still in there. She's just like deeply upset and deeply alone and so desperate that she would make the one call she basically never wanted to make, which was like, can someone please come back here, even though that someone doesn't exist in the form that would be recognizable to her.
And she couldn't even say it.
No.
She had to like go to the, supply store, get the paint and the roller and sort of write it because she couldn't bring herself to get on the phone and say, come back. Let's talk about Carol Act 1, Carol's best day is sort of how the writers talked about how they wanted to lay this out, right? Carol's going to the hot springs. Yep. She's going to the golf course. She's getting a new car. She's getting dressed up. She's going to the George O'Keeffe Museum. The singing to herself, I was very interested in this. And they said that this was based on, there's a TV show that they love called Alone that's on the History Channel where they basically airdrop survivalists.
One of these competition shows,
And they're all alone, I guess, except for the camera crew, or are they have like GoPros mounted on them?
I think it's more GoPros mounted,
Okay.
and they're given cameras to kind of turn on and
okay, so they are like
testimonial.
Blair Witching their way
Pretty
through
much.
this. Okay, so that oftentimes those people on those shows start singing because they can't handle the silence.
Yeah.
That this is like a human instinct thing to do, is to start to sing to yourself to break the silence. Carol, I guess, can't listen to podcasts or audiobooks.
I had that thought too.
I don't know if she has the internet. Zoom is working for the Unlicked, but she doesn't have the internet.
But she at least has some mix CDs, it seems.
Right. So she can't, catch up on her backlog of the Prestige TV podcast. So she has to sing to herself. How did all of this work?
Well, we haven't finished the season yet. Like maybe she will get to episode 9.
Right.
And she'll be like, what happened in the pit?
Yeah.
What mid-season check-in,
I'm going to get real into the Severance theories.
I do think, it's so funny watching kind of the parallel journeys with Carol and Manousos, because Manousos is like trying to figure out ways to basically connect with Carol, right? Like he's trying to learn English, like he's going through his lines, like he is making this incredible journey and drive to connect with her and meet with her. And Carol's like trying to figure out how to be alone.
Yeah.
Like she's trying to figure out, how do I do this and not go insane? And it's singing to herself in the car. It's doing all the things you said. It's going to the museum. It's really following all the listener suggestions that had been in our inbox in terms of the things they would do. But just them being in such different places, which makes sense given their circumstances.
Yeah.
But I thought the singing was especially evocative of that. They're like, I need to hear a human voice, even if it's mine. And it cannot be the answering machine that I'm calling every time I need a Gatorade.
But I do think that's why, we did get a lot of listener emails saying, like, please, for the love of God, can she ask them to shorten the voicemail? I don't need to hear it every time. But I think Carol needs to hear it every time. Even though she puts the phone on speaker and, like, goes off to do something, like... She does like, who doesn't like listening to Patrick Fabian's voice, honestly, but like she does like listening to it. They purposely contrast the procurement of gasoline, right? Carol does his very indulgent, like, bring me an ice cold Gatorade, turn on this pump sort of thing. Her very classic, like, stock my sprouts versus Manousos eating dog food and siphoning gas out of and leaving money behind as he does it,
and refusing the bottle of water.
Right.
I mean, I think that's one of the other contrast points between them is like Manousos he's almost like trying to live in a society without a society.
Yeah.
Everyone is gone, but if he takes the gas, he's going to leave the money. When it comes time to like take refuge, he's going to sleep in one of the few places that would actually give him refuge, which is on the floor of a church.
Yeah.
He's just not like bunking up in the nearest mansion.
Right.
And Carol's not exactly taking advantage of like every luxurious exploit she could, but she's going to take the painting off the wall and take it home with her.
And I'm not critiquing Carol because she has, like, in contrast to the other Unlicked, she has been a real holdout.
Yes.
But then you can contrast her. And we talked about this earlier, the sprouts versus the dog food. That, like, Manousos kicking over the, like, cooked meal and all that sort of stuff like that. That this was just an more extreme level of what Carol thinks she's holding out and Manousos is really holding out.
But this did feel like a letting go episode for Carol.
Right.
Like she did the investigative journalism. She presented her findings to Kumba, and it's like, no one cares about what I care about.
Right.
And so all I can kind of do is go home and I guess live whatever life I can live.
Well, but part of that is she doesn't have a purpose anymore.
Because
she had this investigation and she's like, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to save the world.
Yeah.
And then was just roundly rejected and John Cena-fied and like set packing.
Well, her purpose is being a scratch golfer. It is a lifetime pursuit as I understand it.
Fair enough. But like Manousos has a part. He's like, I got to learn English.
It's a great point.
Machete my way through the Darien Gap.
Yeah.
And get to Carol.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about the painting for a second. This is Belladonna, Georgia O'Keeffe painting. Georgia O'Keeffe, real boss. There was a great Georgia O'Keeffe exhibit that I saw at the Chicago Institute of Art last year, and I just think she's incredible. But I love this story about this particular painting. So she painted this when she was in Hawaii. A trip was sponsored by the Dole Pineapple Company, which had commissioned O'Keeffe to paint a pineapple plant for use as an advertisement. This 3-month trip proved immensely inspiring for O'Keeffe, and she returned home with numerous sketches, photographs, and paintings, including this one, Belladonna. None of these paintings, however, was of a pineapple. When O'Keeffe finally painted the requested pineapple, it was from a plant the company sent to her in New York following her return from Hawaii. She's like, I'll take your Dole money. I'll go to Hawaii. I'll get a lot of inspiration. And later I'll do your shitty little pineapple drawing.
Fucking phenomenal.
She's a boss. She's a G. So
I wish I had that in me, We all need a little more Georgia O'Keeffe in us just to channel from time to time. And I will say, like, I don't think we've ever seen Carol happier in this show than the first time she goes to the George O'Keeffe Museum.
Right.
I mean, on the one hand, no comment. On the other hand, like, I think it is like her taking the painting is her first kind of acceptance of like, this is a thing that I want, that I've been kind of like not allowing myself to do yet. I've been eating TV dinners. I've been doing all this other stuff. I've been living kind of within the normal confines of what my life was. I would never be able to take this painting home, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I love that she had the poster of it. And she's like, oh,
just got to replace it.
I'll just have the real thing. Anything you want to say about Carol's dining out? It's Cloche City on the table here. She's just got the best of in front of her.
I mean, they look great.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the coursing specifically. Is that French toast? Is the first like Martha's Vineyard dish?
Yeah, and then there's like a microgreen. I love a microgreens bowl, but it just seemed like
it seemed like a mushroom rice with
like
microgreens on top,
sort of situation.
Yeah,
okay,
risotto, but I don't know. It looked a little longer grained to me. Sounds delicious.
Rob.
I mean, I'm down.
If we
for
do a travel show,
on this
Rob,
plate.
it's gonna have to be a foodie travel show.
I mean, you're not gonna hear an argument from me.
Correct.
But I support Carolyn. I support Carolyn coming out of the cloche is ultimately what I'm saying. Like, she's finally allowed herself to do this.
Okay, you could say coming out of the cloche, but you could not say why Carol enjoys a George O'Keeffe exhibit at the museum.
I thought it spoke for itself.
Okay, great. I will say, just because my brain is cooked, and you know this because we did a West Wing podcast where I said Westworld like 9 times instead of West Wing. I had to be edited out. The player piano at the dinner playing "I Will Survive" like was giving me real Westworld vibes.
So I did check to see what else was on offer.
You know
what else is on the iPad. It did hurt me a little bit that she scrolled right on past Robin's Dancing on My Own on that list.
Yes.
Look, it's an episode full of like quite on the nose music cues.
Georgia on my mind. It's getting hot in here.
As one does when they're slowly going insane in isolation. But it's like, maybe it would have been a very girls thing to do, but I would have appreciated the Dancing on My Own interlude.
Do you think these were other songs they considered but couldn't get clearance for? And so they were like...
Well, I did have that question. Like, do you have to pay REM if you're going to sing 7 seconds of The End of the World as we know?
Yeah, they talked about this in the official pod. They had to clear everything.
Clear everything.
Yeah.
Shout out to all these artists, these musicians, these bands getting money for Racy Horn's stirring performance of Hot in Her.
Thank you for doing the correct pronunciation.
That's what it is.
Okay. Manousos, siphoning gasoline, learning English. The guy who rolls up to him and is like offering him water and giving him like facts about dehydration, like very Zoja coded, like here are some facts for you. That's a stunt guy.
Really?
Who they just like thought had a very cheerful demeanor. So they're like, he'll be perfect for this. And he was. I thought he was really great.
He seems like an amazing hang. I would have taken the bottle of water, I think.
Yeah, I mean.
But this is the difference between me and Manousos.
Slippery slope, man.
I guess.
Slippery slope.
He's a very principled man.
Slippery slope, not unlike the one he tumbles down straight into the plant.
Well, let me ask you this. Now that Manousos has asked for help, right? He reached for the heavens. He got medevaced out of the forest. Last resort, certainly. Do you think there's any part of him that's going to be more open to asking for the Carol level things on the other side of this? Some like the basic, like, can I not eat dog food? Could you bring me some food even if I cook it myself?
I think he's going to be judgmental of her, relenting even as much as she has.
I think that, that part is, I think, if he shows up and Carol is in Zosha's arms, he's going to have some thoughts.
It's tough. Vesco, when he talked about his performance in this sequence, he said a note that he got again was to not look too tired or too stressed and don't cry, because it's just sort of like this is supposed to be like a hopeful journey for him. That is, we see him trudging and dehydrated at the end. He needs to sort of work up to that, but also just sort of like to make this feel like I'm working towards something. I'm not just sitting alone in this room, dialing the radio frequencies. I've got something to do, and for the first time in a couple weeks. Yeah,
I mean, and it's beautiful, right? Like the scenery, again, the resilience of that moment and that journey and that character, which is what makes it so heartbreaking when he can't ultimately like get where he needs to go. But it's like, again, it's a human like who's trying to prove something that like, I don't need to be airlifted to New Mexico. Like, I can do this. I don't need you. And as he says really directly, like, everything you would offer me is not yours to give in the first place. So why would I possibly accept it?
So badass. Question for you. If you were to make this journey, would you bother to shave and trim your hair and do all the other grooming stuff that Manousos decides to do on this journey?
Absolutely not.
You're on full beard, like getting real beardy.
Yeah, I think in this scenario, I am Will Forte and Last Man on Earth. Like I'm living in pretty much some version of abject filth. I'm certainly not as presentable as him, but again, this is part of him like continuing his, like, what he sees is like his obligations to the world around him, right? Like he's a participant in this larger thing, and that means trimming your hair, that means shaving, that means being a normal human person,
keeping up appearances of everything. I will leave money on this windshield for a person who is no longer anywhere near this vehicle, just in case society returns to itself. I need to have order and this illusion of, you know, similar to back when he was in the storage, facility, and he was just like, sorry for this.
Yes.
You know, I
leaving
took this,
the notes.
I will leave a note.
I mean, I would say even to like a maybe OCD degree, right? To an obsessive or maybe coping mechanism degree, right? It's either I'm hanging on to this thread because it's the only thing that's keeping me feeling like the world might come back, or it's I just have an innate sense of order and I personally need to do these things whether the apocalypse is happening or not.
I have a really important question for you next.
Please.
Okay. We get 2 vanity license plates inside of this episode.
Yes.
The Rolls Royce that Carol picks up, the license plate is Ace Baby.
Ace Baby. And
the license plate on Manousos' beloved car that he burnt is Elfritz. We talked before we started recording a little bit about what Ace Baby might mean. I think it's tennis related.
I mean, when you're picking up from the country club, especially the valet parking at the country club.
What's the just married car? Like, was the reception at the country club? Is that why the just married car is there?
I guess so.
Okay.
That part does make sense. Okay. And conspicuously right there in the background during Carol and Zosha's big embrace, you know, just the just married blinking sign in the background as Carol wears, I believe, her like, you know, Pluribus blue shirt as is customary at this point, and Zosha pulls up in her Pluribus blue car. You know, the color theory is really popping off this week, Joe. I love
that. Okay. El Fritz. Couple options here. First of all, the car is always on the Fritz.
Yeah.
So that could be a fun nickname for it.
Yes.
But also Fritz is a German name, abbreviation of Friedrich, which translates to peaceful lord. So just some options. If you have other thoughts, lickingthedonut@gmail.com.
Please. What
El Fritz could refer to. Rob, really important question. If you were to have a vanity license plate, what would it say?
Well, first of all, Joe, I just want to say I regard you as a peaceful lord. This is kind of the energy that you put into the world.
La Fritz. Yeah.
Vanity license plate. Honestly, it's so like antithetical to my personality. I don't mean to dismiss your bid, but like I don't think I could bring myself to do it.
Yeah, you just no-butted my yes and moment. That's fine.
Maybe yes and is the license plate I need. You know?
Can I say that I think that I've thought about this for years. I've thought about like, am I a vanity license plate person? And I've never been able to come up with.
Yeah.
I have an idea. I'm not going to say it in case somebody takes it, but like I have one idea that I'm kind of interested in.
Okay.
But more than anything, and this is just like worse than I think getting a vanity license plate, I want the California plate that's the black with the gold numbers on it.
Quite elegant.
Right. And so like
I guess is it black or is it like a deep Bruin blue?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like I want that aesthetic more than I even need like an actual word on there. So
I've often wondered if
that makes me more Kuma than anything else, then I'll just embrace my inner,
I don't think it's that at all. But I do think there's an overlap between if you're a tattoo person and a vanity license plate person. There's a similar like I want to make a permanent public statement about something regarding me.
That thing is like I'm ineffable. I don't think there's a word that can encompass what I am.
Joe, there's never been any doubt. You are ineffable.
All right. I have something really important to tell you. This is actually the most important thing I have to tell you.
This has been a very important podcast.
The Chunga tree.
Yep.
Did you look up the Chunga tree?
Of course I did.
Did you see what an alternate name for the Chunga tree is?
I did not.
It is, I am pleased to tell you, in some places referred to as Chumbawamba.
What? I mean, Manousos did get knocked down and he got up again.
Yeah, and they're never going to keep him down.
They're never going to.
I could not believe this. I have gone my entire life without bothering to figure out what Chumbawamba means, and it means the Chunga tree.
You're blowing my mind.
Lickingthedonut@gmail.com if you think that band had something else in mind when they I didn't like go
when they were
deeper
pissing
into
the night
this.
away,
Yeah. When they're drinking a whiskey drink, a lager drink. Yeah, exactly. The
Chunga tree though, the Chunga palm I've seen it referred to too. Just the single most not fuck-withable tree I've ever seen in my life.
I'm staying in a hotel. I am not a person who usually does this. I screamed a little scream when he fell back and got impaled on the tree.
It was awful.
It was so bad. And Vince Gilligan on the official pod said he watched that edit like 90 times and every single time he like gasped. It's so bad. Like, because there's the shot, of course, where he comes face to face with the tree.
Completely.
And just like, woof, close call. And then his ankle turns on that rock.
Yeah.
He grasps for the vine that can't hold his weight. And then it's just like, it's that moment in a fall where you know it's going to happen and you know it's going to be bad.
Well, see, I was the opposite in a way, because I did know it was going to be bad. I was expecting ankle twist compound fracture, like horrible leg injury, as often happens if you're hiking in like really unstable terrain.
Right.
And I just thought, oh, we've moved past the spike trees.
Right.
You know, the booby traps.
Yeah.
We're past it, but unfortunately you are never past them.
I love the way that was shot as he was sort of navigating around them. And they, you know, Adam Bernstein, the director, talked about like that they're almost this living menace.
Yeah.
That he has to like, you know, like the T-Rex, if you move too fast, it'll see the motion sort of attitude. But
also very like Predator Badlands, having recently seen the forest will kill you.
But also Vesca talked about how in some cultures that tree is, so some people treat that tree as like the scariest, most threatening tree.
Mm-hmm.
And for some cultures, that tree is the tree that they use to build all of their buildings. And so it is like a holy tree, a friend tree.
Yeah.
And I was sort of thinking about that as like a hive mind idea of sort of like, is the hive mind a friendly tree, the tree that, you know, builds everything for you, or is it going to impale you such that you then have to cauterize your own wounds with a red hot machete?
See, I was thinking more Carol. It's like a little prickly on the outside,
Oh.
may wound you for life,
Right.
but ultimately could be quite stable under the right circumstances.
The scars that you carry will be worth the journey
One
of
hopes.
spending time with Carol.
I mean, we'll have to ask Helen about that. Who's to say?
The belt in his mouth, like the whole thing, it was so hard to watch. Really, really hard.
Yeah.
All right. Anything? Oh, I do want. Okay, so in terms of Carol Act 2, I just want to underline something. We've been talking about the clock. So we get a day count of how long Carol has been alone.
Yeah.
But from Matt, friend of the pod, Matt Midovich, sent me this quote from his Inside Line newsletter from Ray Seahorn, where she said, "The Carol Zoja hug was a tough scene to film. We did a lot of takes of varying levels on that one. Director Adam Bernstein and Vince both were reminding me that the isolation period that she goes through has taken a massive effect. And even though I filmed it as one episode, for Carol it was in excess of 30 days. And she had no idea what the end in sight was." So like excess of 30 days of shagging balls off a parking garage, which may or may not have been a Better Call Saul. There's a parking garage they used a bunch in Better Call Saul, and like with similar yellow paint on the pillars. So I was wondering if that was the same location. But 30 days of like, how long do you think you could go by yourself?
I mean, this is the premise of Alone, as you were saying, and like really the challenge they're putting the competitors through. Even the people who have gamified it and prepared for it, like you can really see them absolutely snapping at a certain point. And I think especially it's one thing if you're fighting for resources like that. And so Manousos' case is very distinct from Carol's. If you're living comfortably, actually, here's my question. If you're living comfortably but still isolated, would would that combination of factors make it worse? If you're thinking I'm roughing it in every possible respect and I'm alone, but the discord of like, I have all these comforts, but no one to share it with, no one to talk about it with, no one to identify with in any possible way. I could actually see that making it kind of worse. To answer your question, I would last like 3 days. I would be a mess. Do
you have your DVD collection though?
Oh, you're right. Physical media does save us. No physical media 3 days. With physical media, eternity, Joe.
Yeah, I think so.
Would I be happy? No. Would I be talking to a volleyball? Absolutely. But that's what you got to do.
But would your Criterion collection like watch through be complete? Yes.
But if you log something on Letterboxd and no one can read it, does it make a sound?
This is the eternal question.
You know, like, does it really count?
If a Chumbawamba tree falls in the forest and no one's impaled, does it count? I have a couple of requests for our listeners. First of all, I want to talk about the very end of this, obviously, the fireworks and all of that. But we're going to do a year-end, we're going to do the Pluribus finale. And then as part of that episode, we're going to do a sort of like year-end mailbag. You've already solicited some emails online, but I just want to make sure that people know PrestigeTV at Spotify.com or lickingthedonut@gmail.com if they have questions, comments, concerns.
Or any of our previous emails. We do still get all of them. So if you're a Slow Horses person, you really want to email arseTimeThePope@gmail.com.
We got a pineapple bobbing email this week.
I mean, look, people have their allegiances and I support them.
Also, if you have ideas for what Rob should put on his vanity license plate when he
Yes.
finally gets California plates on his cars,
Don't out me on this podcast.
licking the donut.
Allegedly.
You
allegedly.
doxed yourself on Rewatchables.
No comment.
Do you remember
no
that?
No comment on anything that's happening here.
Lickingthedonut@gmail.com if you have an idea for it. Pigeon hater with an 8 for the hater. Something
it's
like
a
that.
lot. It's a lot of letters.
Like
little
PGNH 8 or
we'll
something
workshop
like
it,
that.
but spiritually, obviously.
Okay. Or for me, if you have ideas for what I should get. So
and we will auction off Joe's actual idea for charity.
Absolutely.
You know, we're gonna throw that up. We're gonna go to the highest bidder. If you want to know what Joanna Robinson will put on her vanity plate, we will
what
sell
I think
it to
encompasses me.
Yeah.
But it's not just like what you think encompasses. You want people on the road to be like, oh, it
kind of has to be a bit, you know? It can't be just cut to the core of who you are. It's like, I'm cutting to the core, but in a winking way just for you.
Yeah. Well, that's what, I was going to dox myself with what my bumper stickers say. I'm not going to do that. You know, that's...
Coexist.
Honestly, how dare you? All right. The Booyah Jams of 2006, we're playing, we're bumping.
Yeah.
We get the fire. Okay, this is sort of the last big question I have. Before we get to Age of Aquarius in Portuguese, I believe, close out the episode. What do you make of all this sort of like patriotism that comes from Carol inside? She's singing Stars Stripes Forever.
Yeah.
She's playing it. She's getting the firecracker. I was like, is it the 4th of July? Is she honoring 4th of July all by herself?
Yeah.
But it just felt very like performative Americana.
Yes.
Rugged individualism.
Well, as we know, is both in the show and one of our favorite things, rugged American individualism.
Is that what my license plate should say?
Rugged individualist?
Yeah. Rugged USA.
I think that'll work out.
Okay.
I mean, obviously the American...
I get the exact kind of attention I want.
I think so. We're really finding it, Joe. This is what podcasting's all about. We're just here to narrow, and we finally landed on the perfect idea.
This is how you yes and Rob,
I'm
not
so sorry.
no but a bit.
But this is you yes anding yourself from like 3 bits ago.
You know what? And sometimes you got to podcast with yourself.
It's absolutely true. The American part is clearly there, clearly textual.
Right.
I also think a lot of it, too, is just like the pomp and circumstance, right? It's like if you are one of the last people left on Earth and having no human contact, I think one of the things you would crave is not just having your friends over for dinner. It's like the big communal stuff. It's the holidays. It's celebrating. It's something like fireworks. Like, who's going to put on fireworks for you other than you, unless you ask the hive mind to do it? And that's kind of against the point of wanting it in the first place.
I will say this. Having been to several 4th of July events where people have sort of put on their own backyard fireworks show, which I think might be illegal here. I never did it, but I did watch it.
Even like city by city, wildly different regulations.
A lot of fire hazards here in California, etc. I would much rather say, hey, hive mind, you don't have to get anywhere near me. Come back to downtown Albuquerque. Put on a massive fireworks show, sourcing the hive mind knowledge of fire safety. And you want like the big show, especially in, I don't know, like what fireworks shows were like for you growing up, but if you ever tried to do the fireworks show in San Francisco, fog cover means that like often you're just getting like colored cloud above you.
Very different vibe.
Yeah.
But I think you're missing some fundamental parts.
What am I missing?
I mean, one, the time-honored tradition of getting drunk and lighting fireworks.
Correct.
Which is really what she's after.
Right.
The whole comprehensive
She's like, I don't need all
experience.
my fingers.
No. And also just lighting stuff on fire. Like, that's part of the appeal of setting off the fireworks yourself. Like, yes, it's great to go to the big show and set up your chairs and have fun, but like...
by yourself.
Also, lighting the stuff on fire is part of the appeal.
Questionable whether or not this should be in the podcast at all, but I will just ask you. Carol decides to like maybe let a firecracker take her out at one point in this.
Stares it down.
What would you absolutely not do if you were at the end of the rope? It's been, you're burned through your physical media collection. You're out of patience, out of time, out of hope. What are the things you're not wanting to do? Because a firecracker to the face...
This is the thing.
Is tough.
I think anything fire-oriented should really be off the table.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, look, a very low moment for Carol. I'm sure like a weak moment where she's just on the brink of a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't think the firecracker is what you want. I don't think anything that is aflame is really the answer in those kinds of situations. And really at the end of your life in any way, period.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's just something I'm thinking about.
Death?
Constantly. Okay, anything else you want to say about this episode of television?
I have not listened to The Watch yet as they discuss this episode, but the good news for Chris Ryan, the hive mind in clearing out the shelves of every store for all of the food, for all the valuable stuff, the cigarettes are still there. The Zins are still there. Whatever he would prefer to get him through the long night.
This is very important.
We salute our friend Chris.
We do. CR, we love you. Okay.
One dart into the breach at a time.
All right. LickingTheDonut@gmail.com. PrestigeTV at Spotify.com. Take care of yourself. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Send us your vanity license plate ideas.
Yeah.
What a real joy to be with you in person, Rob Mahoney. I think it's the last time we're going to see each other before the end of the year. So happy holidays in person.
Happy holidays to you.
And but we'll be back with more Pluribus before the year is out, just like creepily over Zoom. And that's it. Bye.